Hi everyone, Tombatal here. Finally, after so much time, I can begin again with one of my favorite games, Blood Bowl. I've been excited to start playing this game again, and I'm sure you've all been anticipating it too. The reason I'm starting with a tutorial first is because the number one thing I get is that a lot of people try to pick up and play Blood Bowl and end up becoming discouraged because of the poor in-game tutorial and the relative fact that it is extremely hard to pick up and play, even harder to master. With the release of the new Chaos Edition, Blood Bowl being on Steam, and the tread of Warhammer game releases recently, I personally feel like Blood Bowl is more popular than it's ever been before. If you look back at my original Let's Play that I released last year, I failed at explaining how to play the game, just kind of picking it up and pointing out some tips here and there. It really wasn't well thought out. Instead, with me starting this in-depth starting tutorial, hopefully I can take care of that problem, get everyone up and running with me, and on to making their own awesome teams while they watch. So, the horrible learning curve when you start playing, that is just a cold hard fact. However, once you get over that, you get over the beginning struggle and you start getting some successful games under your belt, win or lose you will start having some fun in the game. The game is all about picking up a fun fantasy race, building it up and seeing what happens on the field, the wacky antics and the injuries and it's all part of the fun, and it creates a really unique experience that will keep you entertained every single game you play. As I stated earlier, many people that have watched my Blood Bowl playthrough do so because they want to have a better understanding of the game. Unfortunately, to reiterate the truth to you guys, man, I just don't do a good job explaining what I do when I play, and I feel like a tutorial is required before we even start anything. Let's be frank here. When you first open the game, you see exciting images of orcs and elves in battle uniforms, running around fighting, leaping around, passing the ball. It's like a ballet of mayhem on this field, you know? Truth is, the real game isn't quite like this. Even with the best luck and pro players on the field, the roll of the dice will fuck you over. If you're not careful, this will constantly happen to you over and over again. Let's see if I can get this to work. Intercept. And the interception failed. He catched. Bam. And he's going to probably run for a touchdown. So, they're already doing well. Got a touchdown. Without even having a basic understanding of the game, flipping through the tutorial book that you get with your Steam version, you will be a victim of those goddamn unfair dice gods. Truth is, however, if you follow this guide, you'll learn some intelligent starting tactics, and if you actually use them intelligently, that's the underlying rule there, you will avoid bitter defeat and you'll be able to live on in infamy. So let's get started already. Enough patience, I am done. It's time to finally play. I mean do a tutorial for Blood Bowl, that's right. When we first enter a single player option, prepare yourself to be assaulted by lots of different startup options. Being a new player, your newbie player, your first instinct is to beeline straight to the tutorial. And as I said earlier, pretty much all you're going to get out of it is a fluffy story piece with basic rules drawn out for you. After going through and starting it up, don't be surprised if you get ground up your first game. That's because it's best to learn Blood Bowl by taking many games to settle in and learn the flow, learn the metagame, if you will. After learning how to click a few buttons in the useless tutorial mode, I'd recommend you create a campaign in the Begin a Campaign button, and just go for it. Just go balls deep. You're going to get beat up, sure. Going to get your ass kicked, but the best way to learn it is just to dive in and find out for yourself. Campaign, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to experience single player, so that's why I say choose that first. Why campaign? Because it makes you feel like you're creating a Blood Bowl team and competing against a huge league of players, just like the real-life board game, you know, playing with real people, or even the multiplayer experience, having multiple players online, creating a league and becoming that, you know, into that experience. You get many different customization options for creating a team instead of a pre-made one in like the exhibition match mode. and you get to see them grow as you pound your way through tournament after tournament, versing over 100 unique teams. You may be inclined to start story mode. Don't be fooled, however. It's just a poorly made mode where they throw you into a game with a random race and tell you to complete objectives like make 10 passes with halflings and win the game. It's ridiculous, to be sure. You know, it's hard enough to try to actually beat the objectives in the story mode, let alone actually win the game when you're 2 points, behind, and they start you off in like turn 7. It's I don't understand. It's ridiculous. They could have done something a lot better with it, like some kind of career mode, but as I said, it's a mess, and I don't recommend you do it at all. And, enough explaining. I say choose campaign, and you should choose campaign. It's the best because I say so, and I've rolled my natural 20 on my charisma check. So, there you go. Damn straight. We're just going to go in. First selection is to choose Blitz or Classic mode when you get in. Classic mode is very, very similar, almost exact to the board game experience, and I find it to be just a bit on the plain toast side myself. Blitz is similar, in fact extremely similar. It's almost the same kind of game. It just gives you a little bit more options. It allows you to contract your players, give your star players equipment as they level up, changing how badass they look, giving them spiked giant shoulder pads, and giving them a chance per game, more importantly, to increase their stats by 1, which it can be a boon with the right positional players. You get a blitzer, just that single strength can make all the difference in being able to bully your opponent around. So it's very, very critical, and something that's really, really fun as well. Adds that little bit of oomph that I prefer as a gamer. Next, you add your campaign name. I'm going to be adding mine as tutorial. You can name whatever you want as yours, I know. It's very original, right? Next, down below for game type, you can choose real-time or turn-based. I prefer pretty much to go for turn-based. There's no point in going real-time. In fact, I strongly discourage it. It turns the game into, like, the goddamn worst blend of chess and NFL Blitz you've ever seen in your life. Trust me on this one. Stay away from it. It's a lousy mode, and it's nearly broken. From there, you have your difficulty level. And you have 3 different choices here: easy, medium, hard. Most people actually in the forums say the easiest one to go with is to stick to hard mode. The reason for that is it actually makes the game, it makes the AI less random, more likely to not make as many mistakes, like stupid mistakes. And a lot of people feel that unpredictability can lead to some really frustrating changes. To me personally, I like to go towards easy mode. I always appreciate an opponent that will try something fun versus playing the same exact grind style that you see in every single online game against any opponent. I encourage that behavior, and I think you should as well. For example, maybe the goblin that gets picked up won't survive being tossed with the ball all the way to the end zone by the ogre. And you know what? Statistically, it's probably never going to work. But you have that 1 in 100 chance that the stars will align, everything will go right, and they'll actually pull it off. And that to me is interesting. It's entertaining despite whatever happens. You can, it just makes the computer fun, I think. So, it's really up to you whether you want to do easy, hard, difficulty. I'm going to choose easy for the tutorial. Next, we choose our race, and that's the most important choice in your early game. It sets up your play style. For example, the L's have a play style that's a lot more fragile. They employ the scoring game, passing, dodging through enemy ranks. That's pretty much how they run, and it's really hard to take like the elf team and turn them into blitzers. You got to kind of play around with the players that you get and the skills that they get as they level up. So choosing that's going to have a big impact. For a beginning player, a lot of people will say, stick to the humans. And the humans in Blood Bowl are pretty much they're average. They're the Swiss Army knife. They do everything. They're the Mario, if you will. Everything is average, but they can do everything in the game. So a lot of people will say, yeah, use them because that's going to get you used to all the different types of gameplay. And while that's true, it's also kind of a misnomer. A lot of people, when they pick up Blood Bowl, the tabletop game, they'll choose human because they want to try out all the different things that Blood Bowl can do. And, you're going to pay, $100, $150 to create your team. Might as well make sure that you're going to be happy being able to play them, right? In Chaos Edition, in the actual video game, you have access to over 20 races from the get-go, and you don't have to pay a thing for them. And that's the reason I say that humans are bad, because when you start playing as them, you can't actually compete with a lot of the more specialized teams. For example, if you hit bad luck and you manage to go against Chaos, they're going to whoop you, and they're going to whoop you hard. They're probably going to injure several of your players, maybe even kill a few, and you don't exactly have the income to come back from that early game. You don't have a lot of skills to prevent that kind of damage, like block, for example. And without talking too much about it, I would say stay away. There are better races to actually learn the game with. I would actually employ more of a bashy team, and the team that is best to me for that are orcs. So they're pretty much exactly like humans. They're a little bit more tougher, a little bit more bashier, but they can still employ that long range, style if they need to. They can be pretty flighty because they have some pretty good agility, especially if you hire on some goblins. They do really, really well starting out. They have extremely cheap players, so if worst case scenario you do get, kicked around by Chaos, you're going to be able to replenish your stock pretty fast. A lot of them have strength skills. They can be really good with bashing. They have starting skills with block, so that's really good. I believe the linemen, for as cheap as they are, have like 9 armor. So the chances of them getting killed are really, really remote. So that's going to save you a lot of money early game. And they're one of the most popular teams, so if you are looking up strategy for the orcs, they are going to be your cup of tea, And eventually you can start trying out those passing plays while having a solid defensive line to fortify your end zone, just in case your experimenting backfires. So that's why I say orcs are the perfect choice. Try them out. You'll love them.